In today's Leeds news, under 18 signs pro deal. Wednesday to sign Poveda permanently. Sinisterra exit confirmed. Harrison exit clause could be scrapped. And Daniel Farke, manager of the month again. Hiya folks, Jer here on Friday the 9th of February with your Leeds United news. Hope you're all having a really good week. Some stuff to get through today. There is a Daniel Farke press conference. You may have just watched it, or you may be about to watch it. I'm not covering it. I won't be covering it today. There's lots of other people to cover that, so let them do that. We're going to focus on the news today. We did do a match preview for the Rotherham game last night. That is available. Myself and LUFC Stats, Andrew Dalton, covered that. You can find that on the channel as well. We've just passed 22,000 subscribers as well, so a massive thank you to every single person who has subscribed and watches the content and listens to it. It's available on Spotify as well now for our Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. It's available there as well. So just a big thank you to everyone that's really stuck with me. I said at the end of the video yesterday, there are other channels and some bigger channels have started to do Leeds United news as well, so I'm really delighted that people have stuck with me and come to this channel as well. Whether we agree or disagree in the comments, it's always been a conversation, so it doesn't really matter. Football is a game of opinions. So let's move on and crack on and get with this. Also, by the way, if you see this thing on my neck, I'm not wearing a weird top underneath this. I've got a heart monitor thing on me for 24 hours, so ignore that. We'll move on. Let's talk about the under 18 pro deal that's been signed last summer. Leeds United signed exciting attacker Louis Pirie from Scottish side Aberdeen and was brought down as part of the under 18 side. He has been in excellent form and has really shown in a very short time what Leeds saw in the player, and has now been rewarded with his first professional contract signing with Leeds, and that will run until the summer of 2026. He did score in the penalty shootout the other night in the FA Youth Cup as well, which Leeds progressed into the quarterfinals of, and will face Liverpool in Leeds. So another exciting player there. There's some good players that have come into that side, and it's really good group. Josh McDonald, Louis Pirie, Marley Wilson, Rory Mahady in goal. There's a really good solid group, and Alfie Creswell's in that team as well. There's a lot of good potential. Harry Gray dips in and out when he's been promoted from the under 16s, under 15s team up as well. So lots of talent there as well. So keep an eye on that group. It's an exciting group. So I'm sure the quarterfinal will be on TV, or LUTV, as well as the previous rounds one was against Sheffield United. Moving on, let's talk about Ian Poveda, and he secured a loan move away from Leeds United on deadline day to Sheffield Wednesday. And at the time, there was a rumour at the time that the move was going to be a permanent move on a 2.5-year contract was being mentioned. That didn't happen, but now Sheffield Wednesday manager Dan Roll has been talking up Wednesday's chances of signing the player on a permanent deal. Roll said this. He said, "Yeah, this is exactly what we will do. Now we prepare for the summer, and that means that we look at our own players to extend their contracts, and we will speak with them." It was said that Poveda pushed for a move away from Leeds close to deadline day and did approach Daniel Farke asking to leave to get raw regular game time. At that point, Leeds had been thinking about extending his contract, or looking at the possibility. When he said he wanted to leave, the club want committed players to be at Leeds, so at that point any chance of an extension was removed from the table, and Leeds made a decision that the loan players that have gone out outside of the likes of Darko, JB, and be extending any contracts that run out at the end of the season. So Lewis Bate, Luke Ayling, Ian Poveda, those contracts won't be extended at the end of the season, so we will see probably the last of them, and hopefully at least with Luke Ayling we'll get to see him come back, say goodbye properly, and get the send-off he deserves for his service to Leeds United as well. So there's that. Speaking of exits, there's another big one, and one that has been rumbling on for a week. We've been speaking an awful lot about Louis Sinisterra over the last week. Someone told me yesterday in the comments that the original story that we ran last week on Louis Sinisterra was incorrect. Well, it actually proves to be correct, as it turns out, because last night news broke that Bournemouth have decided to activate the buy option in Louis Sinisterra's loan contract and make the player's loan move a permanent move. The Cherries have agreed to a £20 million fee with Leeds United, with other clubs that were starting to show interest now being pushed away. We mentioned earlier this week that Bournemouth might move early on this deal because there was said to be interest in Italy from AC Milan, and if it went to the end of the season and Leeds got promoted, Louis Sinisterra would come back to Leeds because his loan clause would no longer be active, and that would cause maybe a few problems for them to try and get the players. This will prevent anybody from hijacking a deal in the summer. As we said, AC Milan were rumoured to be very interested in the player if they could sell Rafael Leao to PSG and start their rebuild. Leeds United have now received over £40 million from Bournemouth for Tyler Adams and for Louis Sinisterra, and have pretty much broken even on the fees that they paid for them at the time, which, if you think about Leeds relegation, that didn't look like a possibility. The club have done a really good job at the moment of recouping some of the fees they paid for these players. The loan moves have started to pay off a little bit, with teams wanting to get these players locked down. This does bring an end to the volatile situation around Louis Sinisterra after his legal threat to the club to get a force and move away in the summer is now over, done and dusted. The club and the player can now move on from this as well. On the Jayden Ante situation, that's been asked an awful lot about his position and where he sits in this deal as well. Jayden Anthony is a straight up loan to Leeds and is not connected to the deal with Louis Sinisterra, so therefore won't have any implications on his move. Now, the fee is an interesting one. People have been asking why Leeds have settled for 20 million when they could have possibly got a little bit more in the summer. The 21 million that Leeds had paid for him last summer, why have we not gone to try and recoup that money as well? But it's now become clear that the reason for this has got to do with profit and sustainability. If Leeds made this move now, the 20 million that they've agreed with Bournemouth will bring the funds into Leeds United immediately, which will allow Leeds to just navigate the P&S stuff a little bit better than they might need to, because it's very tight in the Championship. Had Leeds waited till the summer and tried to negotiate a bigger deal, there would have been clauses and staggered payments, and Leeds wouldn't have brought the money in one go. So from that perspective, it put Leeds in a pretty strong situation from that perspective, as we said. Already, perspective, said too much. So it's an interesting one. It's a player that doesn't want to be at Leeds and a player that has now moved away from Leeds on a permanent basis. So I think we can draw a line under that. We will remove Louis Sinisterra from loan watch now, as same as we did with Robin Koch, as he has now signed a permanent deal with another club. He is no longer a loan option player for Leeds United, although his contract with Bournemouth won't actually take effect till the first day of the transfer window in the summer. So there's that. Speaking about exit clause, let's talk again about Jack Harrison, who keeps popping up. Jack Harrison's long-term future is still very much up in the air, with rumours that his permanent exit clause, or at least a fee agreed, might now be scrapped, or could potentially be scrapped should certain things come into effect between now and the end of this season. There's said to be an agreement between Leeds United and Everton for a £20 million transfer of the player, which will see Harrison's loan move become a permanent one, similar to Sinisterra. If Leeds secure promotion to the Premier League, the option to buy will become null and void, as will the loan clause in his contract, meaning that Jack Harrison would return to Leeds and then Leeds would have control over his future, taking the option out of Everton's hands. Everton are said to be very keen on keeping Jack Harrison, and Sean Dyche wants him as part of their future. But as I said, that might be taken out of their hands now. If Everton get relegated and Leeds get promoted, all of those factors will have to be taken into consideration for the player. As I said, if Leeds go up, the exit clauses and the loans become null and void. If Everton go down, will Jackie want to stay with a Championship club? I think we've seen already Jackie's position on moving back down into the Championship with a club, a player who's keen to get away from Leeds in the summer as well. So that's another one to keep an eye on. It will depend an awful lot. Everton have a potential 6-point deduction coming on top of their initial 10-point deduction that they received earlier this season, with their FFP case going to be heard before the end of the season, as well as the legal case that Leeds, Southampton and other clubs have brought against Everton as well. So more news to come on that as and when we get it. But apparently, according to what the Premier League have said, is these investigations and results will be heard and sorted before the end of the season. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. And then finally today, Daniel Farke has been named the Championship Manager of the Month for the second consecutive month in what has been an incredible run of form for Leeds United. Farke continues to break records as Leeds United manager. He is now 2 points ahead of where Marcelo Bielsa was at this same stage during Leeds' promotion campaign. He's won more games in his first season as a Leeds manager at this point than any manager in his history as well. And now he becomes the first Leeds United manager to win 2 Manager of the Month awards in his first season at the club. And thank you to Andrew Dalton and LUFC Stats for that fact as well. Stats has also said, I haven't written this one down, I'm trying to remember. Stats has also said that Leeds have not lost a game after a manager has been named Manager of the Month since David O'Leary's time. So there's a possibility of another possibility, another stat that pushes Leeds towards hopefully a very significant win against Rotherham on Saturday, which will push Leeds forward, hoping for a favour from West Brom against Ipswich as well, just to open that gap a little bit and take the game in hand out of the equation, which would be really good as well. That's going to be it for me, folks, for this week. I'll be back on Monday morning with more Leeds news. Enjoy the weekend. Fingers crossed for 3 points. Enjoy the press conference, see what Daniel has to say. And if you want to check out the match preview that me and Stats did last night, it is available on the channel and also available on Spotify if you want to check it out from the audio description as well. So there you go. Thanks very much, as always, for supporting the channel, and I'll see you on Monday for more Leeds news. Have a great weekend. See you. Bye.